live now?
Yes, sir.
We live? Are we doing this?
I think so.
Woo! Good evening, folks. Good afternoon and good morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is Lionel Miranda, and you are here joining us at X Planet Live, and we are at the AOS Roundtable. Now, right beside me, we have Mr. Josh Akins.
Hello.
Say hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
He just did. And we are about to converse like two nerds who are just getting into AOS 4th.
Yeah.
Feels like a brand new game.
It's very different.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is very different. I've been playing AOS since it came out, and
Shows.
holy, it's comedian.
Clarity.
Comedian. That's what he is.
Anyways.
So yeah, the game is very, very different. We're gonna talk about our experiences as two regular guys playing the game, and yeah, we're gonna weigh in right now. But before we get into that,
Yes.
how long have I known you?
Gosh, I think
Like,
you've known me. You don't know of my existence for a while. I worked
you were
at
a kid,
ish. So maybe it was like early 20s.
17, 18?
I worked at Square One when there's a G-Dub there still. When I was
Right.
21, 22.
Yeah, later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like, and then like your store opened up not long after, or like during the time. So yeah, like 13 to 15-ish years, yeah, around there, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
that's a long time.
That's almost half my life.
That's a long time. That's it was just crazy. I was just thinking about it, and
Yeah.
there it is.
flies,
So in that meantime, obviously you've been a huge fan of the game and Games Workshop stuff in general, if not the company. Obviously, those are
Yeah.
two very different things.
Yes, yes.
So you started at AOS at what point?
I played a little bit of AOS 2, maybe 5-6 games.
Gotcha.
But I started just before AOS 3 came out.
Basically, AOS 3 is your.
Was it? Yeah. So the
Was
last
your
3
main
years, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, the heart and soul of the game has not changed.
No.
So if you thought AOS was cool before, it still is that game. It is still that part of the game. The way it breaks down is still all the same. Feels very familiar. But oh my goodness, is there?
There's a lot.
There is a lot.
Yeah, like the more things change when I stay the same, but like vice versa this time, I think, right? They kept all the core stuff,
Right.
But they changed a lot of the way things interact and how they word certain things too, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've played a few games now. I think I've played now roughly 7 games, not an enormous amount. You played
Around
a heck of
there.
a lot, Matt.
No, about 8 to 9 games. I think.
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that,
Okay, so how are you feeling about the game as it stands? Broad strokes. We're not going to get into specifics here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, go.
It's fun. Honestly, that's the big thing. It's kept its core values of it being a nice, fast-paced game, right? Which is always a big thing. Like back in the days of other games, took forever to deploy, move trays of models, whatever. Right? It goes a lot faster this way.
Yes.
I think it's in a good spot fundamentally for sure.
Yeah.
So
I think the design team in general has a lot to be proud of.
yes.
The game is highly interactive.
Yeah,
Love the
especially,
fact you could do all those moves on your opponent's turn,
Yeah.
like charge and cast spells and everything else. It's it's a pretty like an enormous amount of thought and plan and design have been put into the game, and I got to say the AOS team, Matt Rose specifically, I guess, and everyone that around him should be very, very proud of what they did. I think.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But you're sensing a but? Well, because
We got
there
some
might
butts
be
here.
there might be some buts. There might be some buts.
Yeah.
So let's get down to the nitty gritty. All right, so let's start with the unofficial first stage of the game. List building.
Ooh, yes.
So list building's a fun experience
Yes.
for some, and not so fun for others.
Faction dependent, I think.
Yeah. So what are the factions you play? First off, we'll start off there.
So Slaves of Darkness is my main one.
Yeah.
Sons of Bahamut, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Those are the biggest ones I've played for the last 3 years. I've flirted with Lumineth a little bit, Deepkin, but like I started Fantasy way back when with Chaos, and that's where my heart is. So yeah, Slaves is definitely the way to go.
Slaves are pretty sweet. So how are you finding building lists for Slaves of Darkness?
It's fun. Things are expensive, is the big thing, right? General list building, you need a wizard. I always start like, whatever the points are, Gaunt Summoner has to be there. 2 casts, boom, bang, done. And then your hammer's in there, and then just filling the points out for the things to go grab, like flanks, objectives, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, perform your battle tactics is what Josh is talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I enjoy list, like just as an art, we'll call it. I really enjoy list building. Just the theory behind it is great, and you get a lot more of that now. I find with this version of AOS. But
what do you mean?
So you have to plan more for your battle tactics that we talked about, right? Thinking of the pack you're gonna be playing, or just General's Handbook stuff in general, right? We went from seeing a lot of 3 objective missions to now there being a lot of 6. There's even 8 in the current GHB and stuff, right? So if you're not mobile, you're just not going to score those, and that's them as it breaks.
Yeah, it sucks to suck.
Yeah, it does. I would know.
It does suck to suck.
So.
How you find building Giants, Suns? Have you really dove into that much?
It doesn't feel much different than it did.
Yeah, it's 4 models. Like, it's hard to.
Yeah, like my first couple games, I played the same. So before King Broad Stomp was out,
Yeah.
I just played the King Broad Stomp list with 1 less Man Crusher. It felt the exact same. Let me tell you, hitting on 4s does not feel great. Going from hitting on 2s almost with everything before, right?
Yeah.
So, but they're
A lot more damage.
It is. They gotta get there. But Giants have never been about doing damage. It was just, I'm sitting on a circle. Can you remove me? Yes. Sucks to be me. You can't. Sucks to be you.
I would disagree. I think at their peak,
Yep.
a lot of people were saying, a lot of talking heads on YouTube, like this,
Like this, yeah.
right here, were saying they didn't have a lot of crackback. And I'm going to tell you right now, Yuri cracked back all sorts at the peak of Giants.
Yes.
It was nuts. Their amount of damage they did and durability was bonkers.
In the monster GHB, so first GHB for AOS 3, 100%.
Yeah.
Because they didn't degrade. They were always 20 models.
I said in the first incarnate, yeah.
Yeah, that was peak Giants for sure.
Yeah.
But then when the newer book came out, it was again sit on circles. Broad Stomp made it disgusting because you'd throw terrain at the time, but that's gone, right? You're not throwing terrain in anything anymore.
That's too bad. Really.
Yeah, right. But like they still keep that stuff, but for an army that's in the Destruction Grand Alliance, they don't really go and destroy stuff for the most part, right? They have ways of getting bonuses to hit, but it's like once per game or whatever it is, right? So they're more cagey army. Whereas playing slaves, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna touch you, I'm gonna blow your stuff up, but I can also get blown up, as we saw earlier.
I did notice, we'll talk about that game in a second. I did notice that design-wise, it felt like Destruction is your more damagey.
Yes.
At least on the bottom end. And I'll talk about hitting skill, like odds of hitting.
Yes.
But odds of wounding and doling out damage.
Yes.
It seems to be rather heavy on that end. And I looked at Chaos and I'm like, what's the identity of Chaos?
That's like they say they just want to go out and hit stuff.
Right.
But,
so
yeah.
are they the other faction that does that?
Well, and that's the thing, right? There's not a crazy amount of speed across any Chaos arm. Not really. You have the odd cav unit that moves 10 or whatever it is, but it's not insane. You can skew into like whatever Blight Lords for Nurgle, like we've been doing for 3 years or whatever.
Right.
Same thing, but like, yeah, it's the same thing, right? Destruction is just baseline damage, and Chaos is the same thing with some durability, but not a huge amount of durability.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we'll get to that part in the next little bit. I named 3 armies in my last AOS with Mr. Simeon, and my 3 armies I'll comment on just those 3. I own more than that, but that'll be a very long show. But I'll talk about Iron Jaws, I'll talk about Magakin, and I'll talk about Cruel Boys. Practical experience I have with Magakin, and Iron Jaws very little, Cruel Boys very little. List building for Iron Jaws is laborious. Like the game asks you to do basically 3 things. It asks you to do 2,000 points and try to be bang on if you can.
Yeah.
If you fail at that, be 1950 so you could unlock a CP.
Yeah.
All right, cool. It's hard
Between the
getting
2,
there.
Yeah.
There's nothing to fill to get there.
Well, you said
the cheapest unit for Iron Jaws is 130 points.
Yeah.
And of course, that comment could be made across a lot of different armies.
Yeah.
But I found that so very, very difficult with Iron Jaws specifically. Whereas although stuff is expensive in my Magakin and Nurgle,
Yeah.
I feel like when I'm done my list, I'm like, oh, I got what I wanted.
Yes.
And I'm there. Whereas with my Iron Jaws, I'm like, I have to pick between a War Chanter and a Wizard.
Yeah.
The third thing that the game asks you to take is a wizard.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're giving you an entire resource in the form of manifestations.
Yes.
And that manifestations can only be tapped by wizards. So if you don't have a wizard, you don't get the cool new stuff.
No, and you can't stop the new stuff either.
So literally you're railroaded in your list building to always take a wizard, but not just a wizard.
Yeah.
Because there are haves and have-nots. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're a have,
Oh, thanks.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You are,
Yeah.
right? In the form of wizards, you got some pretty good ones.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch in Slaves. Bellicor is amazing.
I love
As we've discussed, level 2 does whatever he wants.
so good.
Moves 14, so he can cast stuff, do tactics.
Oh,
he can
C10.
fight okay. Yeah, he casts 10.
If he does nothing, just moves 14 inches and just caps him
Sits there and puts a finger. He's like, yeah, do nothing.
Yeah.
Gaunt Summoner, same thing. He's 2 casts, which is great.
You should try the nesting thing more often, I think. But
Yeah,
whatever.
well, yeah, like I said, the Silver Tower thing, just get out there and be able to touch someone is gross.
Especially if you're a 2-drop.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's-
Sorry,
depends on
drops
what
we'll
you-
get into, but drops are, if you finish dropping before your opponent, you have the opportunity to choose priority in the first round. Unlike in 40K, where it's a random die roll, this is literally you construct your list to try and increase the odds of deciding that first round priority. Some lists care, some lists don't. There's not right or wrong way to do it. It's a style thing. It's whether or not you bring screens. It's on how you build. So back to Wizards, you got some primo
Gaunt
ones.
Summoner, it's great, like I said. Even like the Chaos Sorcerer Lord, dirt cheap. He's only a 1-cast wizard, but he gives a ward save out, which is nice.
Yep.
And then, of course, the big boy, Archaon, is 2-cast wizard as well. He does everything.
He is amazing. Yeah, he is amazing.
He actually hits now, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's the same durability. He lost the bounce back, whatever, but it's not as crazy. He has a ward save, so he'll just tank whatever he needs to.
All right, let's talk about a have-not in the
Yes.
form of Ironjaw. Now I'm gonna be beating him up on a little bit, but I love Ironjaws, and I'll never sell my no.
Well, they're super cool models too.
Yeah, they're
right?
gorgeous,
So-
gorgeous models. But their choice of wizard is one level 1 that can be conditionally level 2.
Yeah.
And by that is the ability to cast 2 spells if he's close to more orcs.
Yeah.
He has no bonuses to cast. That's it. Like
that's it.
that's what I got. And there you try to cast spells and we just watch you just slot machine and fail, and
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Well, like I was saying before, like in Night Hunt, like Reconor is amazing.
It
He
really
cuts,
is.
cuts himself, takes a wound, cool.
Yeah.
He gets +1 to cast and an extra cast, and he'll just heal. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And he slaps. And the shaman with the stick is like, yeah, man, I suck. So.
Yeah, then you have Lumineth
man,
that are just all sorts of bonuses to cast.
Bonuses, they just do it.
They just do
The
it.
Calgary
Yeah,
just does it.
fair enough. Yeah. Techless is pretty incredible, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
All right, so we're in the list building stage. So the things that we're taking into consideration is we're trying to be 2000, failing that. We're trying to be 1950. We're always pretty much putting a wizard if we can in our lists.
Yeah.
Is there any other considerations? You mentioned a battle tactics. What
Yes.
does that mean for list building purposes?
So for like what I play with slaves, right? Things are expensive.
Yeah.
So it's finding things that are cheap but fast, that are also expendable, right? So there's Furies, there's Raptorix, that kind of stuff. All they gotta do, go on the flanks, score me 4 points.
Yeah.
Right? Go steal a train piece, score me 4 points.
Yeah.
Past that, who cares?
Yeah.
Right? They can screen, cool, but that's what we're there for.
Yeah.
So yeah, building your list with tactics in mind is
Yeah.
huge.
Which that's different
It's-
than third? Because we did that in third.
We do that, yeah. I think you, at least some armies in third, you could build a list to choose to not be interactive. Like when we saw Big Wall for a bit, you could just never engage your opponent, score all your battle tactics, score primary, and you're like, cool, I scored 35 points.
That was pretty
Awesome.
something, yeah.
That was a game.
That was a version of the game.
It's very rare you're going to score all 5 tactics and not interact with your opponent, I feel. There are ways around it. There are ways.
Yes.
But it's going to be very rare. You'll probably score 2, 3, maybe, but not all 5.
Honestly, man, I can only think of 2 that maybe you don't interact
What's-
with your opponent. And that's literally the opening stages of the game,
Yeah.
what they're meant for, so you guy who goes first can actually do something.
Yeah.
And that's flank and seize the center.
center, yeah,
Those 2 are potentially the ones you don't interact with your opponent. I say potentially
Yeah.
because of course in the game you have the ability to redeploy, and other armies can actually move outside of their zone at the beginning, get a free move at the beginning of the game.
Yep.
So you have to be very, very wary of.
Yeah, I
that
think
as well.
knowing what your opponent's army does is also huge. No, that wasn't before.
Yeah.
But these there's a lot more. Not I hate saying gotcha, but there's a lot more minutia, I guess.
I think
to
it's
these
because you
things.
could interact more.
Yes.
So you can screw up a battle tactic quite easy in fourth.
Yeah.
So the impact of not knowing what your opponent does is big.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even like we're saying, like seize the center sounds awesome. If you deploy too close and I countercharge you, awesome. You don't score those 4 points, right? So, yeah, there's the counterplay we said is nice. So it's those things in mind, right? You want to be able to score stuff but still interact. So.
Right. All right. Let us start at the table. You rock to the table. We're going to do this step by step. You rock to the table.
Yeah.
You have priority. Okay. You're playing slaves. This is the army you're most comfortable with right now.
Yep.
What are you doing with that priority?
So is it turn 1 priority?
Right now, turn 1.
Yeah.
And we're going to say there's it's a 3 objectives in the center.
Sure.
Does that change anything?
Well, slaves likes playing 3 in the middle, obviously. Does it change anything? No. I'm
Okay,
still,
so what do you do with priority?
So if I'm priority turn 1, I'm going to set up for an easy tactic, probably flanks, because I'm going to be committed in the middle, and I'm slow, right? The army's slow. Can be slow. There's potential to be faster and stuff.
You were also slow.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, you're bald.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Low. Just because I called you stupid.
yeah, what rude. Anyways, well, professional TV. Anyways,
All right.
yeah. So I'm gonna try and get an easy tactic, and then just flood the center with something, right? Yes, slaves can be fast, but top of turn 1, I'm not gonna make combats unless something crazy happens on my turn 1. I'm not gonna be there, right?
I have seen you do it.
It's definitely doable. You can do it with demonic speed and try and get places. But the old way of just pin and in doesn't always work out nowadays. Because things like power through, you can just leave if you want, right? But anyways, so separate tactics, again, probably flanks, even center, because I want you to come to me anyways, right? I mostly play Mark of Nurgle because the durability I find outweighs the extra attack that Khorne can give you. Tzeentch doesn't do anything. Slaanesh, whatever. It does stuff, but
Slaanesh is
interesting. Slaanesh is the interesting pick.
I think it's the other really great pick for slaves.
Yeah. The
I mean,
big
don't get me wrong, an extra +1 attack doesn't suck.
no
It's just that the army doesn't lack this.
hitting power. No.
Yeah, it lacks mobility sometimes, and it lacks durability sometimes. And both Nurgle and Slaanesh can add.
Can do that. Well, exactly,
Yeah.
and that's motionless. Again, even with knights, everyone's like, "Oh my god, they do all his attacks." I'm like, "That's great."
Yeah.
But if you can't kill them, doesn't matter. It's okay.
Right.
Especially with the priority target stuff, getting +1 hit, +1 wound is worth more than the attack, anyways, right?
Right.
So if it's against half your opponent's army, we'll say that's worth way more than if I charge, get +1 attack.
If you have priority,
Yeah.
and it's not 3 objectives in the center,
Yeah.
now it's 6.
Ooh.
Do things change?
Things change. I still have something on the sides for sure.
So you have decision of priority is what I meant.
Okay, so if I can choose, in AOS 4, going first feels like the better way. I don't know that there's enough in the game that can reliably alpha strike. So bottom of 1 into top of 2 and win. So I think you still win is the big thing, right?
There's things that can make it across the table, sure.
Yeah.
But if they are doubling you, are they winning?
That's the thing, right? And if they can't win, then they've lost 4 points, and you're just like, I'll do whatever it is. Anyways.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is just going to be just analysis of how my opponent deployed their army, how fast they are as well, right? Again, slaves is slow, so if I'm committed to one side, I'm pretty much on that side, minus knights, Varanguard, Be'lakor. But it's still set up for that turn 1 easy tactic and go. So,
all right. So you would take it.
Yeah, I would take it. It's because there's enough for you to be able to deny from your opponent as well. So again, the counterplay even that way. The difference between
What are you doing?
10.
What do you do? What's the counterplay? What's the counterplay you're referring to?
So it will be trying to with 6 flooding one quarter more than the other quarter, right? depending on where my opponent is, right? If I can turn off easy tactics for them, like turn off their flanks or turn off their center, that's a huge deal, right? If they have to do things like fight my units, awesome, come fight me. That's what I want you to do, right? So thinking in advance to how to deny their tactics. So
Yeah.
that's
I would agree. I would agree.
good
I
thing.
think those are all really, really good points. I'm playing Magkin Urgle, and that's a definition of slow. My fastest unit moves 8 inches, and those are in the form of drones. I don't think I would ever not build a list without drones in it.
Either kind is fine.
It gives me an opportunity to be able to do a flank. You could still fail because you have to be outside. So if you roll a 1, you're 9 inches away from the other two. You're just on the line, not on across the line.
Yeah, and you can only auto run one of them. So.
You can only auto. I roll 1 die. Did I roll a 1? No, I didn't. Cool. I auto run the other one and get the flank.
Yeah.
So someone gives me turn, but I rarely have priority.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say rarely. I'm about 3 drops, which is about
typical we've seen.
Yeah, the fat middle of the game is about 3 drops. People are talking about 2 drops, but you really do sacrifice quite a bit at 2 drops.
A lot, yeah.
What do we mean by that?
So with that, so the way that you build lists now, right? It has to be a hero and then the people that go with him,
Right.
which not every unit can go with every hero, right?
Correct.
So you're restricting yourself more if you don't take heroes that can unlock your whole faction, right? So again, Gaunt Summoner, beautiful. I take anything in the book with him. It's awesome.
That's
right?
why he's actually supremely good.
Phenomenal, right? Whether it's like Chosen, some Dark Oath chaff, Raptrix, whatever it is.
Yep.
Right? Whereas like a Sorcerer Lord is just Warriors of Chaos stuff.
Right.
So the hitty stuff, awesome, but I lose out on the things that don't hit really hard, right? Or I need for tactics. So yeah, that's the thing. Like it ends up being restrictive that way. So you have to figure out how you want to build your list.
It's just a very cool opportunity cost.
Yes.
So you could be a 2-drop and almost assuredly outdrop your opponent.
Yeah.
Because most people are 3. That's what I've seen, generally speaking.
Yeah, the stats are showing both 3.
Yeah, 3 is about it. If you go 2, you get it, but it comes at the cost of tech.
Yes, a lot.
A lot of the heroes that you want to get, you want all these heroes, it's going to increase your drops because each one's going to be in its own regiment.
Yeah.
So if you forego that, what you're saying is, screw it, I'm going low drop so I can decide priority, but I'm going to reduce the amount of tech my list has in it. And the other thing you do, you're going to put units in your general's regiment, which is going to unlock tactics for your opponent. As kill the entourage, if I'm not mistaken, is what it's called.
The entourage,
Yeah.
But again, like I said before, the +1 hit, +1 wound against. If you're 2 drops, it's half your army. Your opponent gets +1 hit and wound against. Huge.
So it is a very, very interesting dichotomy there. Like you're like, do I go lots? And now I can put nothing in my general's regiment. I've got 4 drops, put nothing in his regiment.
You could.
And then I'm like, I don't care. You decide priority.
Yeah, kill this.
Whatever you want. You want to go first? Go first.
Also,
you want to go second? You want me to go first? I'll go first. Pick your thing.
Also, like balancing War Master choices. Also, like the War Master stuff. I don't think there's most War Masters are worth it. I think that have the keyword.
Most War Masters. Which ones aren't?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm hard pressed to think of ones that are not right.
I can't think of anything right now.
But those ones also give you everything, right? Yes. I don't think there's a War Master that does not unlock your whole faction to go in his sub-faction.
Correct, yeah.
Which is good, but he's also forced to be your general.
Yes.
Right? Which isn't always going to be a bad thing, but there's times like, if I can shoot techless, cool. I will entourage techless, that's it, because his defenses are super low now. Yeah. Or whatever it is.
You mean slay the entourage?
So yeah, exactly, right? And then you just lose a lot from that too, right? Because it's also not super cheap. But yeah. Yeah,
with my Mad King Durgle, I'm at 3 drops, so the little fatty center. Yeah. And I actually do put a unit in my general's battalion, and I will actually opt for bodyguard. I am not interested in +1 to hit +1. I don't care about the extra rend.
Makes sense.
I just want to keep my big fat boy alive for as long as possible. Yep. And that when I say big fat boy, I mean a great unclean one. That guy is
yeah, he does stuff.
He is quite. He's more hitty than
Yes.
Is he more hitty than he was
Well,
before?
he's flat 4 damage.
On the
or
other
whatever.
end, he's flat 4, but the other one had more attacks. I don't know. He's definitely
Math
aggressive
so.
enough and defensive like a boss.
Yeah. Recurs stuff. He's 1 cast wizard, 2 cast wizard.
He's a 2-cast wizard. Yeah, he's the center of the recursion for the army as well. So he feels auto, but in Nurgle, what I've been finding is there is no auto. Like, you really feel, like I took a list with no Great Unclean One. I was like, why would you do that? Well, I'm going to forgo the Great Unclean One and go Mortals. I don't need to recur and just go a lot of MSU units.
You could. With the Glock, and that helps too, right? Just countercharge everywhere.
Yeah, Glockin's really, really sweet. Yeah. Also love Cruel Boys. Cruel Boys are neat. Although I don't have, they feel very, I don't have a lot of experience. Yeah. And they feel very, how would you say it, sensitive to dice.
Yes.
Like when you roll that, oh, this happens on a 2+, roll, like I rolled a 1.
Yeah.
And I have no way to re-roll that.
Well, at least the tricks actually do stuff this time, though.
Yes, and they're constant.
Yes.
Throughout the entire rounds, every round.
Yeah, which is nice.
But
yeah, so they're like, here's my good thing if I only roll whatever the odds are, right? So,
yeah. So priority, you're rocking to the table. I would 100% agree. I would take some fast units in my list as well. Yeah. Again, that's part of the list building stage. Yeah. Generally speaking, I've been playing armies that haven't had much choice. Yeah. So I am just ready to be given choice, or I'm ready to just go second. And I'm generally now just playing armies that are comfortable with both.
Yeah, which is fair, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're past this priority stage.
Yes.
Someone's going first, someone's going second.
Yeah.
We're in the hero phase.
Ooh.
So how are you finding the hero phase in 4th edition?
Okay, so I love Magic.
Right.
In like every fantasy setting, Magic is the coolest thing. I play Wizards and whatever it is, nerd, awesome, it's cool. The spell lores, for the most part, I find are pretty tame for the armies, right? They help they're good, and they help to just like, so again, with slaves, right? Demonic speed, my guys want to go there and punch stuff, cool. 3-6 charge, awesome. I want to make sure that I don't die, I'll make you strike last. The other spell is whatever, some flat 3 mortal wounds, who cares? It does things, right? Or in Bellicor is -1 to wound now, he does, or whatever.
Which is wicked.
Which is amazing, right? Yeah. And then even if you have pluses, I'm playing Nurgle anyways. I don't think there's any overpowered spell lore specifically. They all help the army out. Nothing feels super oppressive.
Spell lore.
It's lores your army can take, which there's no universal anymore, which is nice.
I miss it. I miss my Mystic Shield, the best spell. Kidding, it's gone. But
if you play the generic battle pack from the rules, which no one's gonna play, cool. But that also gives you the recursion spell, which would be terrible anyways. But anyways, it's all the spell lores. It's the manifestations. Yeah. Because you can choose a spell lore and manifestations, you can just do a bunch of stuff, right? You have 2 or 3 wizards, some are 2 casts, some are 1 cast. You just get to have all your toys, right? Just manifestations, they do something to the game. It's really, it feels weird.
How are you feeling about manifestations in general?
In general, I'm okay with them being free. I'm not okay with my opponent casting them in my turn. No, not from the armies I play, it just like, there are some that are just gigantic bases, now I can't move. Right? So if we go back to things like, I'm going to seize the center or whatever it is, right? If you block the center off for me.
So you say you can't move.
Yes.
But it says in the rulebook, Josh, that you can move through manifestations.
Yeah, yes.
What else does it say in the rulebook?
It says that they're units sometimes, but not always units.
You also can't land on them.
Land on them, which is huge, and they're gigantic.
Yeah.
And the gigantic ones can end their move with you without charging. Is a big deal. But that's not in your turn. That's in your opponent's turn. But it's them being able to cast it in my turn. I was like, oh, a spell here or there is fine. I don't think there's anything that's crazy ranged mortals anymore. I think Tzeentch has some. I said Slaves has one. It's short range. But it's the manifestations. The big thing too is when you set something up, it can't move. But if you set it up in my turn and then it's your turn, you can move it.
Right after, yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, cool. And it costs you 1 CP. It's a pretty decent trade. it's -1 to cast, but if you have a +1, +2 to cast wizard, whatever it is, who cares? Just do it.
Odds are really good. Even just
It's-
a +1 to cast
yeah.
on your opponent's turn somehow,
Yeah.
if you can engineer that, so you need a +2 cast because you're down 1 by casting it on your opponents, is just massive. It skews math like, whoa.
Well, even like most of them are 6 or 7, right?
Yeah.
So on average, it goes off.
Yeah.
You get +1 to cast, here it is, right?
Yeah.
Now they're not all good.
Yep.
But like even things like having an incarnate, which whatever, it's neither here nor there. Because this giant monster, huge base, right in the middle, right?
Yep.
You can't afford to engage it because if it pops off, well, that's a dead whatever it is, right? So
On your turn.
on my turn, yeah, right. You haven't gone yet. You're just like, here's this thing, this giant dragon monster, fight it. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Or here's this sun or this whatever avalanche of bones, right? So yeah, hero face stuff, good. Prayers don't seem as crazy as they used to. There was a lot of crazy stuff you could do end of 3rd edition with prayers. Spells seem fine for the most part, right? I think.
Yeah. I seem even more than fine. I think they did a pretty banger job with a lot of the lores.
Yeah, and like their casting value is appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Like
In most cases.
like Mind Razor goes off an 8. That's really hard in an army that I don't remember if Marath even has a +1 anymore.
not.
So it's difficult to do it, right? I'm sure Teclis exists. He can do his thing, 4 spells at 10, whatever. Cool. But there's no giant ward save anymore. It's D3 mortal wounds, not D6 potentially.
So have you played against that yet?
I don't. In my head, I've played against it and hated it every time.
That guy just goes like this. I'm going to cast this Purple Sun,
on
this
10.
Gravetide.
Yeah.
I'm going to cast Shackles over here.
It's not.
Oh, sir, first I'm going to cast Maelstrom because then I'm going to cast.
I'm gonna juice my
I'm
Maelstrom
going to juice up my Maelstrom.
Yeah, no.
Just automatically.
Yeah.
Automatically. Sorry, you need to roll an 11, by the way, to stop what I'm
Stop
doing.
all these things.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, what'd you roll? I'm gonna auto stop this or whatever it is.
Well, he
It's
does
fine.
8. So if you don't roll above an 8, so if anything 7 or under when you roll, when he unbides, he auto 8s.
Yeah.
Just 8.
Great.
Nope.
Yeah.
He costs points. That's the.
He does.
That's the.
Yeah,
the
he
argument
costs
there.
points, but they
he
don't.
He costs points, but they do not. No, manifestations do not, and that's in a lot of wounds that you're just dumping on the table. That makes up for a lot of his points.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Right. And like the big thing too is so last edition you can only control 1. It was 1 for 1, right?
Correct.
You can have Teclis cast all of them.
Yeah.
Some wars have 4. The best one has 4. He'll cast all 4.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then their trade-off is if you kill him, they go away. Okay. Awesome.
All you have to do is kill him.
That's all you gotta
That's
do. Like I made some, like if you have good shooting, cool. If you don't, he's just the back of the board slinging nonsense at you, whole time. Yeah. So, prayer's good, spell's good, manifestations. Are they units? Are they not units? Who knows?
So part of what Josh is talking about is in the actual rules itself, the manifestations flicker on and off as units. They're in certain phases, you just ignore it. They have no combat range or anything. And then when it comes to certain other phases like combat shooting,
Combat shooting, charges,
and charges, yeah.
But yeah.
Then they click on, or at least some of them do.
Yes.
And that causes a whole layer of confusion in and of itself.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about manifestations, and I've arrived at the conclusion that I don't like them. I don't think that's a big hot take. I think in some cases, not only are they bad, I think they're actually toxic for the game.
Problematic for sure.
Yeah.
Like you said, you play Iron Jaws. You move 4 inches.
4 inches, and if I run.
Yeah.
So how do endless spells block movement? Yes, you can move through them, but you have to clear them.
Yeah.
Meaning your base can't just be clipped and sit on them. If that's the case, you have to move back.
Yeah.
So if you have a unit here, and you drop an endless spell, how far do you move, Lionel? With a run, I guess 10 inches. All right, cool. I'll drop it roughly 8 inches away from you.
Yeah.
And now I have to land on this side. I can't clear that spell. That spell can be 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
Call it 2 or 3 inches. And that's enough to just...
You can't get over.
You just can't get over it. You can't execute charges. Nope. You can't clip an objective. You can't engage an opponent. Yep. So if this, again, is the endless spell, and you bring your unit to here, and you have a row of models this way, your opponent can't get within a ½ inch. And you're going, well, I'll just go around the other way, but you have to go around the other way.
Yeah.
Now let me plant a piece of terrain right here. Yeah. Now that wall becomes a very significant obstacle, and the amount of control that certain armies are able to execute because they are blessed with good wizards is unfair.
Yeah.
Is absolutely unfair. I'll give you another example, and that would be Nagash. Nagash can cast Morbid, which is the most powerful, if you haven't heard yet, Purple Sun, Gravetide, Chains, and Maelstrom.
Breaking news.
The best.
Yeah.
Not only do they do probably the most damage in the game, out of all the manifestations, sorry. There's 4 of them. You actually get 4 bases of stuff.
And they love each other. They just, sync off each other so much.
So he can cast all 4 because he's a 9 spellcaster.
Yeah.
9. He can cast all 4 and still outcast your entire army.
Yeah.
But Lionel costs points. He did, right up until he cast 4 manifestations and dropped 20 plus wounds on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
If those spells did absolutely nothing else, just controlling movement, that would be bonkers.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, folks, if they literally stripped all the ability to spend the spells and all you were was summoning bases,
Still good.
Forbidden Power would be the best now at that point. Why? Because Forbidden Power, although it only has 3, it has Bridge, which is 2 large bases. It has the Slinky spell, Shards of whatever the heck it is, which again is 2 other small. Actually, I think it's a 4. It is a 4. Because it also has the Boatman.
Which also has a long base.
Yeah, it has a long base, and there's one more. I'm missing one. Oh, it has a Baby Nagash head that you go spooky. Woo! Anyway, that's 6 bases.
Yeah.
That's if you just take every ability out, they would still have impact.
Yeah, you just can't move. But the fact that they still do stuff, like, again, Morbid, everything fights or does damage in some way. Like with
significant
with Shackles, it's insane. I can cast it on your turn.
Yeah.
Do mortal wounds. My turn, it'll do mortal wounds, unbind it, recast it.
Yeah.
Because they got rid of the clause of you can't recast when you banish.
Yep.
So I'm just going to cycle through mortal wounds.
Yeah.
And then you also can't move. So you move 4 models, lose at least 2 inches of movement.
I think the ability to cast a spell on your opponent's turn to interact and disrupt their battle tactic is cool.
Yes.
But because there are wizards that are just so much better, and are you not playing one of those? Oh, I feel bad for you. You're just outclassed.
Yeah.
And now, honestly, they feel, and they've actually, I think they commit the biggest sin.
Yeah.
Unfun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they are unfun.
I would agree.
And that is the biggest sin of manifestation.
Well, like you lose in list building, right? It's like if you have to play your opponent, cool, that's fine. But if you have, again, no wizards, crap wizards, and they say the good stuff, what's the point? You just stay home.
And I understand some of you out there are like, I don't know what the heck he's talking about. I had a great time with it, buddy. Yeah. I've also had great times with using manifestations. As long as we're both crappy wizards,
it's totally fine.
It's fun, right? Oh, I got it off. Sweet. Score. My one jobber wizard cast this spell at 9 or 10 power because I fluked off. That's cool. That's a cool feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
It's when it's not a cool feeling. When it's more like automatic and I do this and I do this and I do this.
Yeah.
And you're just watching him. It's like, oh, when do I get to play this game?
It's still my turn, right?
Right? It's my turn. Yeah. So it's not a fan.
Yeah.
And how do we fix it? We're fixing it right now. Go, tell me. How are we fixing it?
Okay. So I said before, you should not be able to cast on your opponent's turn. That's way too powerful. Just if you can do magical intervention, do your lore spells, awesome. But don't be throwing some Purple Sun at me or Gravetide to just be there and be annoying so it can move in your turn. Don't do that. I think if you have to choose between your spell lore and manifestations, it gives you options that way.
Oh, so you're saying pick one or the other?
You don't get 1 and 1. Just that's it. Either your spells that mostly
both are
buff
free,
you,
but you only get one of these.
Only one. That's it. Right? It gives you some choice. That said, are there any spell lores that will do, again, just block your opponent from playing the game? No. So I think you still choose manifestations every time. Do they get points? They used to be points. Things like Gravetide should be like 200 points. The thing is a huge footprint, does so much damage, right? So how do you point these things properly?
Cronspine, at the amount of wounds it has,
Yeah,
it's like a 300-point model.
yeah. Well, I'm thinking too, like, so there's the argument of, cool, if like the meta changes to, if everyone just takes endless spells, you take a Cronspine, cool. Like, it's not great. You can't use command abilities on him, so he's still 4s
None
and
of
2s.
them. Yeah, none of them you can.
Right.
You're not wrong, actually. Yeah.
But then, okay, cool. If I think that way and you think that way, we both have two incarnates just slapping each other in the middle and whatever, right? How do you fix manifestations? They need to figure out if they're units or not. That's the biggest thing, I think. Because the ones that are really problematic, they break the game when it's most important, right? I know we talk about Morbid Conjuration a lot, but that's the big outlier one. Purple Sun and Gravetide, they can just move into combat, right? They don't need to stay
As it
outside.
stands right now, and if some of you might be confused, it's actually a ruling that happened at Tacoma.
Yeah.
And the lead designer purportedly said the intent was the fact that design was to allow Pendulum, Purple Sun, and Gravetide to be able to move into combat. So normally you have to stop 3 inches away from an opposing unit. These spells are just able to close in and just clip and engage these units. And that's a very, very big deal when you could just move and just clip.
Exactly. And even having fly doesn't turn it off, right? Because normally fly says you can't be outside 3. Who cares? Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So it's just that. I think they need to reevaluate what goes in each lore for manifestations at least. Because again, all the best ones are just in one. There's almost no reason to take anything else. I've tried taking Cogs with Archaon for -1 hit. Doesn't matter. Who cares?
Who cares?
You don't need to hit him if you can't touch him.
Right.
Right? He'll just fly wherever he wants to.
Yeah.
I've tried Life Swarm. That's awesome. Slaves has a million ways to heal.
Primal is like
The next one. Primal is probably the next
Primal
one.
is really, I really like Forbidden Power because of the amount of bases.
Yes.
Like, I'm not talking about using bridge for bridge.
No.
I'm talking about using bridge. It's just 2 places.
How do I walk past this bridge? There's a bridge
You
in
just
my
don't.
way.
Oh, are you gonna teleport? No, I ain't teleporting. I'm
No.
just dropping a
No,
wall
here it
of
is.
bases.
That's it, right? But that's the thing, right? Yeah, so like in Primal, it plays a bit more honest. It does what it says on the tin, right? Gnashing Jaws wants to go and fight you, right?
Yeah.
But it fights really well.
Yeah,
Life Swarm will heal some stuff.
it's cool.
It's cool because it heals when you're in combat, so like even if you can't rally, here it's doing stuff. I think people undervalue Burning Head. I think it's great on a 5 cast.
I think so too.
It just, like, it's 2s and 3s, Ren 2, 1 damage. The Ren 2 goes so far.
Yeah,
Right? And then in
yeah.
combat 2d6. But other than that, like, the other ones, yeah. So I think they need to reevaluate what's going to go and where. I'm not sure how they chose the themes of them, but...
They're on theme. So
Yeah.
everything in Morbid actually belongs to the Underworld.
okay, that's fair.
So why change is there is change drags you to the Underworld. Purple
Yeah.
Sun was Nagash's spell,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But
Fair.
then you look at Forbidden Power and they're like, well, isn't that another lore of
Yeah.
Nagashiness? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't want to make it 8.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Spell lore.
Just Nagash casting all his manifestations. Like, what's your army? Nagash. What else? Nothing.
Could you imagine?
Nagash
Oh my
manifestations.
God. Holy Christ.
Yeah, no, I think that needs to be reevaluated. It's just like
10 bases.
Yeah, no.
I'm still getting over that. Sorry, give me
it's
a
a
moment.
lot. Yeah. Compose yourself. It's a lot. I don't know that there's a really good fix. Putting in legends obviously is not an option. Don't take toys away from me.
No.
That's not cool.
No.
So I don't know. I don't know if there's a good answer.
This is not a good answer.
Yeah, it's an answer though.
But it is an A answer. Yeah. So the design of manifestations. Like people, you can read intent.
Yeah.
If you know how to read people, you can see their actions matching words. Is a very classic thing. And you can feel out people. And if you're good at reading people, you can figure out what they're going to be doing and how they would react. What I mean by this is when I read the quality of work of AOS 4th edition. I see a group of individuals in a driving design to be as complete. The goal is to be as complete, as highly interactive, as tight a rule set they could be. Now, they were obviously things were going to fall through the cracks, but that was the goal, and it really does show in the work. I'm going to say that the manifestations was not the same people. I honestly would be stunned if Matt Rose, the lead designer, although it falls on his feet, by the way, it is your fault. You're the leader. Sorry.
He's watching right now.
That's exactly, and you should be watching, because listen to this. Yeah, you aced it. You should have not green-lighted this. Yeah. And whoever put that bug in your ear, because I know it wasn't you, there's no freaking way that you, that designed this with all these group of people, also made that decision ultimately.
Yeah.
It does not make any sense to me.
A lot of the rules minus this feel like they were tested thoroughly, and it makes sense, and this just feels super rushed.
The goal is different. This feels like a commercial goal. The guy who suggested this and went with this is putting a feather in his cap going, ha, ha, look at me sell all these models. And no, I don't like you. Because there's many ways stylistically to sell models. Making a good game sells models. Making good units sells models. This is terrible. How do you fix manifestations? You point them out. Do not make them free. Just don't. Put them back to what they were before. Make them cost points, whatever the perceived points value of spells are. Maybe you just group them into actual lores, right? So Morbid as a total lore costs points, and you get all 4 spells. But then you can look at the 3 spell lores and go, hey, you know what? Your 3 spells, you're going to be a bit cheaper. And now the opportunity cost, you have to carve a chunk off your army to put them in. And that's a cool choice. That's also interactive. You still get to have your toys, but you don't get it for freaking free.
Well, it's a thing, right? It's free stuff we've seen it. Like, again, like Recursion we saw at the end of 3rd. I've played against armies where I've killed the whole thing and it's come back. I'm playing 2K versus 5K, like, fun. Same thing, right? My
issue is these things offset these mega casters that you pay points for.
Yeah, exactly.
And, well, what are you paying points for when you're casting four friggin' manifestations on the table that are easily worth 300-400 points?
Easily, yeah, but individually, not even collectively, just individual ones.
Like, give me a break.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, so no, that's how you fix it.
Just point the game.
Dude, take that guy, by the way, crack him across the knuckles with a metaphorical ruler and say, you don't type ever again. Get out of here. Get out of my presence.
Fetch my coffee.
Yeah. That's that was a little bit of a hotter take than most reserved. That's why he's here.
Yeah. No, I'm going
to be the other side of the spectrum for today.
The sentiment is there. Pointing them out. They're bad for the game. Yes. 100%.
They're bad for the game. And only in certain cases, though, I might add. Because I've had great games with manifestations. No problem. As long as we're both even, right? If I have a Mega Wizard, he has a Mega Wizard, we're chucking suns and moving galaxies, sure. We're all having a good time.
That happens in the lore.
If I'm a crappy wizard going, cast, no, didn't do it. No, still didn't do it. Oh, wait.
Still didn't do it.
Didn't do it.
And then here's just some guy with a big hat who just throws.
And then my opponent pulls it off, having the same amount of chance. You know what? I gotta clap at that point. I feel happy for him. I feel happy for him. Like, we're both having a hard time. I think that's fun. I think that's fun. All right, so we're past the absolutely horrible hero phase.
Yes.
Maybe not so horrible. I would also like to echo the sentiment regarding priests and the whole type of approach they took. I think I like it. I think it's a little restrictive. A little restrictive.
Alarm pairs are really, really high.
Yeah.
But you do so before it was roll a dice, most things were on 3 up, goes off, boom, bang, done, right?
Yeah.
You're incentivized to bank points now because you can double the effect or get a better effect, which is cool.
Yeah.
And you can get those points by doing magical intervention as well, right? So I'll bank points on your turn, my turn, boom, here you go.
They do a cool explosive thing every other round, which doesn't feel
oppressive. No, exactly. Right?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right, so we're getting now past the hero phase.
Past that.
We're now looking at our toy soldiers, and we're now moving them. Anything we're taking into consideration?
So this is still the case of whatever prio and stuff?
Sure, you already got prio.
Cool, got prio. So turn one, my prio, it's how do I don't need to score the most. You don't need to score the max 10 every time. It's how do I not let my opponent score more than me,
Right.
right?
Or to allow them to score more than you.
Or depending on what the twist is.
Yeah, depending on the
some underdog mechanics are better than others. Some aren't. I don't know if they do because they're so bad.
Yeah.
So it's that, right? You don't need to 50-0 someone or whatever it is, right? You just need to have more. So it's knowing those things, and like I said, how to counterplay what you think your opponent's going to do, right? In deployment, there are a lot of tells to begin with, right? To see what they want to plan for turn 1, 2, and
how they
on.
set up communicates a ton of information. It's body language, basically.
Yeah.
Right? How he moves his arm, you can tell where you already see the gears turning as he's dropping.
And so it's you're at that point, you're already counterplaying what they're doing. So how do I stop him from doing his plan?
Right.
So if it comes down to me scoring 8 and you scoring 2, that's a huge deficit, right? And then with you going second, if you win priority, you can't afford to double, right, and lose those 4 points. So it's 8-2. You have to give it to me. But yeah, so see what my opponent's doing, and it's how do I score enough in just in the battle round and deny them their points, right? So I said, you only score 10, you score whatever 8, 6, whatever the battle plan is. But you score enough is good. So you are
that was loud.
better. That was very loud.
That was loud.
So
I'm going to reduce the volume.
but yeah, that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
So it's and taking into consideration their counterplay as well, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going to do things, we said, fighting for the center is probably one of the two you do turn 1 or turn 2.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you're not going to be within counter charge range, right? Like myself, so playing slaves, right? If I was the other way around and I was going second, if I can cast demonic speed on a unit and then counter charge still 3d6, you have to be aware of that, right?
Yeah.
I can just launch across the table, and now my hammer of some sort is in your face. You probably lost the battle tactic, and now it's my turn. So you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
So yeah, reading the table is the biggest thing. I don't know that alpha striking is the same as it used to be. I don't think it still exists the same way. I know Ironjaw is gonna be sad, but what Ironjaws used to do, you can't do anymore.
No, you can't. I'm not sad about that, by the way.
No, I'm saying sad that Ironjaws are the way they are.
Oh, well, that's a different conversation.
We'll get there.
That's a different conversation.
But yeah, that's the thing. I don't normally play for the alpha. I never really did because things can just go wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
With slaves are tools, right? Like Archeon can let me know who's going first in the next battle round, who's going second. I can play more aggressive if I want to.
Right.
But yeah, so getting my points, doing my tactic, and stopping you from having a productive turn is the big thing, because it's almost going to guarantee that priority is maintained, because you can't afford to lose those 4 points if I'm outscoring you by a huge margin.
Yeah, I when I'm setting up, and someone gives me the turn, I will immediately go flanks.
Yeah.
And the reason why is by doing and going flanks, I also deny my opponent from going flanks as well. And they can seize the center if they want.
Go ahead.
On their turn and get closer to me, because I'll move up.
Yeah.
And I often play a lot of really tough units, generally speaking, even when I'm playing Gits. I know we haven't touched on that or anything like that. Like I said, I play a lot of armies. But I do love anvil units and the ability to absorb a hit and then come in with some sort of hammer to finish off. But yeah, try when you're looking at your game and deciding if you have priority, really take in consideration what going first means for both you and your opponent, and what they can do is the answer to that. If the ideal, obviously, when I go first, I'll go for flanks and I'll run to the center.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't even care if you're charging.
No, because like they make it hard tactics. They have to interact with you.
They cannot seize because I'll counter, and they can't flank because I'm across the line.
Exactly.
And now they're looking at their turn going, what do I score actually?
Yeah.
I guess I dive in, and I'm like, cool.
Do it. You're not going to kill 20 playbearers.
Yeah, cool. Let's do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to my game. Yeah. So I psychologically I start messing with.
Which is good though, right? So,
yes. It's what I call playing above the table.
Fair.
Yeah, it's an amazing technique in wargaming if you can play above the table, beyond what is happening on the table, and start playing your opponent across the table psychologically. Because you might notice that he's a little timid with his movement. He doesn't want to lose any models. Brother, if a man doesn't want to lose any models, I will start absolutely bullying on the table, because he'll just give space. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll take it.
Pros and cons to choice, right?
Yeah.
It's like in a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
If the menu is 7 pages with a million things, you take longer to choose what you want because you're just overloaded with options, right? So it's the same thing. If I only have bad options to choose from, because you're in the middle, you've taken the flanks, I'm gonna sweat a bit, right? So, yeah.
That's why clocks are important.
Yes. Which I don't think we need clocks yet. I've played 2 games that were a bit lengthier, but it's still the beginning of it. In third, we definitely needed clocks.
In third, we needed clocks. Do we need it now? Points are so high. Armies are so small, generally speaking.
They're a lot smaller.
I am running larger armies because I've got a way to play larger armies.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed, I was telling Josh this before, is I find the 3-up save to be less of a big deal than initially I thought, right? Because I was feeling pretty positive about Iron Jaws. And we'll go back to that. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but they are the classic example of a have-not in every single category, I might add.
Not in shooting.
This guy with the jokes. Yeah. All right. So at a 3+ in 3.0 was a big freaking deal.
Yes.
Right? You cast Mystic Shield on that.
Yeah.
All out defense. You're stacking, right? Whatever other thing. Whatever other thing you got. A 3+ save was primo.
Yeah. Well, it's back to the Giants talk, right? They have 4-up save, whatever, but I could have all defense, Defiance Dowered, Mystic Shielded. I want a 1-up save. You're not killing this guy.
Right. You're now subtracting from rent, and now 3+ save is a 4, a 5. That's what they are, 5.
Yeah.
The entire game is glass. Like, I look at elite units, you're paying these points for this armor save.
Yep.
And it's just not giving you really much of anything.
Like, no unit can do everything, right? You have armies that can perform in every phase, but there's no unit that can perform in every phase.
I took Puskoil Blightlords, in case you didn't know what that was, folks. It's the mortal unit, the one that looks like a Blight King on top of a fly. I charged a unit, lost 1.5 flies to his shooting on my turn.
Oh, man.
Then he rolled 4+ because I charged him, and I struck last. He killed another fly. These are 8 wound flies, so I lost 16.5.
8 wounds, 3-up save,
3-up save, 5-up ward, and these are dropping like
flies.
He could do that. He's a dad.
Yeah, sorry.
Guy. Yeah, that's why I set you up. It's
Thank
volleyball.
You.
Boom. All right, so it was. I looked at that and I'm like, I have never taken this unit again. Like, ever. Like, people are like, oh, I love my Puskoils. I'm like, I don't have a heart. I don't have my heart to tell. Oh, I guess I just told you now. They kind of not worth it. But they are not worth it. They are not worth it. Like, it's
250 for 2 models.
240.
Then 250.
Maybe I'm wrong. 250. 250. Yeah, I think you're right. You're 250. Yeah,
Say
250 for 2. That you're right?
Yeah.
I mean, it happens occasionally, right? Like blue moons and astronomical objects.
Yeah, all the planets align and stuff.
Comets and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
we got on record though.
That's important. That's going to matter in a court of law someday. I was right, but no, exactly.
But I find elite units to be not worth it. It is much, much better to take 20-man units, 40-man units of wounds.
Yeah.
Than it is to take a handful of wounds guarded by useless armor.
Well, yeah, like the wound density we've seen with ogres is insane.
Like, people are going, oh, they're glass. Bump into gluttons and then tell me how glass they are.
Exactly.
And if you say they're glass, you haven't played against it, by the way.
If you manage to kill 6 somehow reliably,
they're
220. There's more.
Yeah.
There's at least 30 of these guys with 4 wounds each or whatever it is, and it's nuts.
And they hit like fire trucks.
Yep.
Yeah, it's wound density is a definite thing, which is why my army lists have moved to
to that? Well, you've 60
Move that
plague
way.
bearers or whatever.
I'm at 60 plague bearers at this point. No, this isn't a meme. I was playing 70 plague bearers in 3rd edition.
Well, from going from what 11, 12 beasts now to 60
I played
plague
that
bearers.
list. I played my beast list, but that's a different stream. We don't
It
get
is.
to
Very
dive
different.
in.
Very different.
But I want to use my plague bearer list or my madkin list as an example of what I mean. What I'm trying to drive at anyway, is I don't believe elite stuff, generally speaking.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there is no case for an elite unit, by the way, but generally speaking, doesn't seem worth it.
No, well, like weight of dice is a big thing too, right?
Yep.
Generally, you get less with elite units, right?
Yeah.
So if I have 10 models, 3 up save, 3 wounds, or whatever, awesome. If you're going to chuck 80 dice at it in my turn,
Yeah.
and then 1,000,000 dice in your turn, it doesn't matter. I'm going to fail saves.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if I had units of 30, 40 models, probably would have done better.
Yeah.
So Night Hunt's so good, right?
Oh,
they're
Night Hunt.
they're unrendable. They're dirt cheap.
Bonkers.
And you can have 20 models in a unit or whatever, and they're not going to go anywhere. They get an improved ward save on top of their already ward save. So they can be -1 to wound in combat.
They can run, charge, retreat, charge,
Do what you want.
fly, the whole entire army.
What am I do, man?
Amazing army.
I told you, probably one of the best wizards in the game. Reikenor is amazing. Does everything. He does everything.
Okay, at the end we'll talk about it.
Night Hunt. No,
Generally speaking, we'll talk about it. All right, so what are we at? We're at movement.
So yes, movement. I've now decided how I score points and deny you scoring points.
Right. So the
With that.
thing is to when someone gives me first,
Yeah.
I jam the middle, take the flanks to
Yeah.
prevent them from doing either or,
Yeah.
and now forces them to engage me or not score.
Exactly.
And now I'm controlling their movement and dictating their game.
Exactly.
And that's ultimately where you want to be at, I think.
Yeah. No. I
It's
agree.
like chess, folks. You want to constantly dictate how they're moving.
Yeah.
You want to do that in this miniature game.
Won't
as
give
well.
them bad choices.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly right. Exactly right. All right, so we're getting past the movement now. We're getting into shooting. Is shooting a thing, Josh?
For armies I play, shooting is not a thing.
Yeah.
There are armies out there that will just chuck buckets of dice at you, right? So there's cities is a good example. They can just dark shards. Is they don't move, they get 3 shots. They're junk shots. If they're infantry, they're better. But for 140 points, I'm gonna get 31 shots, 3s and 4s, no rend. Unless you're infantry, then it's rend 1 damage. Cool. That's pretty dang good. Now I'll reinforce those. I'll take more, right? I'll shoot you in your turn. Okay, you have to move. You have to shoot the nearest thing to you. That's cool. You can redeploy and cover fire still.
Yes.
It doesn't stop you.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
The shoot ability does, but you're not doing that. You're covering fire. Then what if I told you I chose the priority target against half your army? So now I'm +1, +1, 1,000,000 shots.
So priority target is a choice you make at the beginning of the game, guys. You pick a unit within your general's regiment, and they get a list of 1 to 3 bonuses. You can get a +1, +1, +1 to hit, +1 to wound against anything in the opposing general's regiment, and only the stuff in their regiment. You can give an either anti-cav, anti-inf, anti-monster, anti-hero against the entire guy's army with your 1 unit.
Providing charged.
Providing charge, that's correct. Or you can bodyguard. What does that mean? You could hug your important piece and deny attacks to your general, and I even think the unit too, conditionally if they haven't charged. Anyway, point is, you can take those bonuses with
shooting.
With shooting.
Yeah, so now I'm gonna roll 1,000,000 dice at you, get whatever bonus I need to. Obviously, the ones where I charge don't matter, but getting +1/+1 at anything is gross, right? Things like Kurnoth Hunters. I know people are poo-pooing on Sylvaneth. I think they're wrong, but now Hunters are 2s and 2s. If you're a hero, they're rend 2 damage. But Josh, they're guarded. You can't do it. Kurnoth say, F that. I'm just gonna shoot your heroes. Doesn't matter. I ignore everything. Skaven Giselles ignore part of the guard hero rule. Kurnoth just do what they want.
Yeah, you'd have to do a ruling on that, but yes, I understand.
But no,
Yeah.
it
How
tells
they
you.
read.
No, legit. It tells you they ignore the whole thing. The Giselles say ignore this part of guard hero.
Yeah.
Kurnoth say forget it. Throw it out the window. Doesn't matter. Mortal shooting went down. I don't think there's a huge amount of it. That was a problem before.
Yeah, that was a big problem.
But I've talked to you about a bunch. In a D6 system, just rolling buckets of dice is how you kill stuff. It's how you win, right? I'll take 100 crappy shots over 20 good shots. Don't look at that math, it's probably wrong, but you know what I mean, right? So shooting is here to stay, and being able to shoot in my turn, huge, right? If my tactic is go to this place, well, that's great, I'm just gonna shoot at you, now you're not at that place, or whatever.
Yeah.
So the counterplay is awesome. I love the counterplay in the game.
Yes, counterplay. Fantastic.
Phenomenal. Can you covering fire manifestations? No. Sure, whatever.
Why can't you why can't you cover fire
Oh,
manifestations?
it's an FAQ. It says you can't do it.
Okay.
It's I guess for covering fire, they're not a unit. Maybe.
I don't think they released that FAQ though.
Yeah, it goes in day one FAQ.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I don't know anything ahead of time, Lionel. But yeah, so I think shooting is fine. It's just when you can just stack bonuses and bonuses and bonuses, it gets oppressive.
Yeah.
Obviously, right?
Yeah.
But there's not too much overloading of shooting in the game. You have to skew really hard to do it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think Sentinels are still very good.
Sentinels are very good. They're not what they were when they first came out, thank whatever god you believe in.
Yeah.
But yes, still
Lethal
a lot of
shots is
well, they have
is
Rend 1 now.
Really, really good. At 2 shots now an Archer as well.
Yep.
They are, you definitely, the flies I lost was to
With crits on
Sentinels.
5s is good. Yeah, they do a lot.
Yeah.
A lot, like, your unit's either good at shooting or it has negligible shooting.
Right.
Right, like playing slaves or whatever. I have Fell Riders, I throw spears, who cares? It's not gonna kill anything. Right? I have 20 Sentinels, yeah, cool, that's gonna do stuff.
That's
right?
going to do, that's good. 20
So,
Sentinels will fire 40 shots, 41 with their jam.
Shooting is fine. It does get egregious if there's a million dice, but there's give and take because it's still list building stuff, right?
Yeah. And I find the fact that they've now adjusted rules so that when you engage the archers, they don't shoot.
Yes.
Basically, the only thing that can shoot in combat are like flamey weapons, like
There's
spitting
not
weapons,
a
basically.
whole lot. And you're
not a lot.
Yeah,
not
and
a
you
lot.
still have to shoot what you're in combat with. You can't
Yeah.
shoot out
Yeah.
like you could in second
But the
edition.
fact that majority of that stuff just gets shut down by
It's
just being
good.
tagged is really, really good.
Yes, yeah, before being able to do that, because it basically gave you a second or a a fight phase before you fought.
Yeah.
Right? Even if they weren't the same quality of attacks, it's still rolling dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think shooting for the most part, fine. Right? I don't think there's anything too crazy, and mortal shooting being gone, awesome.
Yes. Yeah, big thumbs up. I would agree with all those sentiments. I think even some of the best shooting, I think still feels, no, it's cool. It's cool that elves,
Yeah.
are deadly with their shots.
Yeah.
It's cool that, this army, like KO is actually a big volume army as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And they used to just have these high quality shots that just
Yeah.
put you out of the game.
Well,
You felt
they
like you didn't have a
both
chance.
quality and quantity.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So-
Now they're just buckets of just not very good.
Yeah.
But it's buckets. And then combine that with their movement shenanigans, you can do some really cool things. I know you guys are feeling it. Maybe some of you in your smaller communities haven't seen what they can do, but it's KO's cool. I
is
really,
very
really
fun.
like it. I really, really like it.
Yeah.
All right, so shooting is in a good spot in the game. So let's now move into the important part.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to break it down to charges.
Yes.
So when you're charging, what do you take into consideration?
So again, tactics, big thing, right? For battle tactics, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Can I trade efficiently is a big thing as well, right? You never want I don't think there's a huge case of wanting to trade down because it just sounds bad, right? Just crippling your opponent is the big thing, but combat range has got a lot bigger now, right? Everything is 3 inches. You also have to pile in, so effectively it's a 6-inch circle around your stuff, right? For your threat range. You have to respect what your opponent can do. You have to respect what you can do also, right? If you can go kill that key piece, awesome, right? Or yourself, you play armies that there are a lot of wounds, they're hard to kill. If I can clog the middle up, awesome, right? So it's choosing the right targets is the biggest thing. So.
Yeah, I find although in AOS you play with blobs, in essence, these amorphous type of things.
Yeah.
Be able to charge at specific points so you can reduce the amount of attacks that come in. Very important.
huge, yeah.
Where the objective is, obviously, is very important because obviously a charge could put more bodies on an objective.
And you don't always need to have everything in combat either. There's times where you just need to have one model there and it just, your opponent's stuck.
And then the concept of stepping stones.
Yeah.
So the one cool thing about what manifestations do and terrain is you're able to charge them.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you can charge a terrain feature and then with the pile in, clip an important unit that you wouldn't have been able to charge otherwise.
Before, yeah.
And that's looking for those opportunities is also quite good.
Yeah.
And yeah, it could mean the difference between like allowing an endless spell to go through. Like the guy will like, oh, I'm gonna drop purple suns. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Where you putting it? Right there. It's all right.
Yeah, I'll charge your sun, move around,
Yeah.
boom. Right?
Yeah. I'm gonna suffer the effects of the sun.
It's rough.
But if I lift the unit or
If you're stuck there, whatever.
pound it right into like neuter it in essence, then it's worth it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's worth it. So charges, not really much changed.
No, it's same old.
Generally speaking, less mortals are done.
Yes, and lots of mortals are done now in the combat phase when things charge, I find. But like impact mortals, for the most part, are gone, or they're harder to do, but the reward is a bit higher because it's D3 you're rolling, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, most of those things are gone. They kept a lot of things that can fly over, like how Stonehorns used to have their thing.
Yeah.
Right, where you charge and I'll actually just move around you, get more distance, which is great. Love it as a mechanic.
Right.
That's also a command ability you can take at the end of the phase with power through and everything too, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think generally,
same.
charge is good. Yeah, it's about the same.
No, nothing crazy. Counter charge is fun, but it's not oppressive or broken.
No, you would think the ability to charge your opponent's turn as a universal thing, but because you know,
Yeah.
you can mitigate it. There's play around. It
yeah.
feels good without being oppressive.
Yeah. You just, like respect it and it's fine. It costs 2, which
is
like
great.
is awesome for
Yeah,
it
it's
because
perfect.
like
It's a perfect cost.
If there's a a big hammer unit that can just get there, ouch, right?
Yeah,
but it costs you a resource, right? So
Yeah. All right, so now we're throwing hands.
yes.
Anything we're taking into consideration while we're duking it out?
So you would have chosen what you want to fight. So
Yeah.
you fight on your own terms, obviously, right? So you factored in things like getting extra rend on stuff with, oh God, what's it called? What's the mechanic called? Anti whatever it is.
Anti whatever
right?
it is, yeah.
Or having things like priority target, that kind of stuff, right? I find I'm using command points a lot more defensively than I am offensively. So I'm using them a lot more for all defense, so I can just weather the blow than having to dish it out. But the army I play, it's fine. Hits on 3s most of the time. Hits on 2s a lot of the time as well, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, combat feels fine. There's actually nothing weird that happens in combat that I can think of that makes it strange.
Yeah, lining up the right anti something against the right target is the consideration you have to take into consideration.
There are units that could double down on it. So things that have like anti-hero and monster, don't throw your hero monster into that because it's a really bad time. Obviously, right?
You can accidentally do that.
You can.
Not knowing. That'd be the one gotcha moment. And I also have anti-charge.
Yeah.
Oh, what does that do? Oh, I get an extra rend.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Thankfully that they don't have that and make you fight last or them fight first or whatever.
That would be ridiculous.
That would be insane.
That would be
They'd
ridiculous.
have to be at least more than 150 points for that.
At least. At least. We're making jokes. It's okay.
It's
you don't
fine.
need to understand.
If you don't know, no. Fighting feels fine. Feels fair. It's just more hedging your bets on stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Do I need to, for the most part, it's all attack, right? Do I need to hit on whatever, a better amount to clear this thing off? Do I need to clear this whole thing off, right? Sometimes you just need to do enough that it's just neutered enough that it won't hurt you back or hurt you enough, right? So yeah, combat feels good. There's no real crazy tricks. Even the flyover stuff feels like you need to know what it does, respect it, and it's fine.
Yeah. Right. I'll say one additional thing then. There's a moment where you've charged too much.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what I mean by that is you're only allowed your buffs in only so many spots. And by charging too many things, you're leaving the units exposed because in AOS, let's assume I have priority, I'm the active player. I get to pick the unit, sure, but if I charge you in 3 spots, 2 other units my opponent can now respond to. Yeah. I could put myself in a real bind, especially if one of those 2 other units are actually another serious hammer.
Yep. Well, that's why having fight first is huge, or making something fight last. Like
fight last is
Usharan. Don't. Oh man, do you know what Usharan does?
Yeah, I really do.
Just everything's in combat with.
He does everything actually. That's what he does.
He is Feck. Anyways.
Yeah.
But making everything in combat with fight last, if he rolls over the control score, which roll over a 1.
Can he do that?
Sometimes. That's what the thing is.
Can he do that? Like, can you? No, I mean, can he roll?
Oh yeah, can you? Can you? Yeah, physically yes.
Yeah.
And he bonks you, and it's great. But yeah, so the ability to have just lots of fight first, fight last, fight immediately isn't bad either. They've got rid of the fight first and immediately interaction, so you can't have things fight immediately in the fight first subphase anymore, whereas you could before. But a lot of the fight immediately stuff gives you more than just that. So playing Chaos, my Lord on Steed gives me +1 to wound as well, right? So suddenly going from if I'm not the priority target or whatever it is, going from 3s and 3s to 3s and 2s is huge. There are some models that are conditional, like Mega Boss, who doesn't do cool stuff like that.
We're not going to talk about that.
But yeah, so it's hedging those things, right?
Right.
A lot of combats is still sequencing stuff properly, and with priority, you have choice. It's a huge deal, right?
Yeah, it is. It is a big deal. And the point I'm trying to make, folks, if you don't have strike first, because that's a little bit rare, strike last, which is another rare thing, don't charge.
Yeah.
You don't have to charge with your entire army.
No.
Don't commit both hammers into your opposing forces if the thing that the second hammer is banging up against is also something serious. Because you're only going to have to be able to pick one, and you've made choices super easy for your opponent because he'll pick the other, and now that is... You're wasting resources here for no reason.
Yeah.
Keep the hammer back, follow through with your 1 strike, nail that down into the ground, and then he could come at you. But now he's got 2 hammers, and now he's in that bind of choices.
Exactly.
Do you engage both of those? No? Oh, okay. Well, if you don't, I still have my other hammer to come across.
Yep.
So I know it feels like you should always go
full send.
Full send.
Don't do that.
Don't. Just don't. Like you don't, unless of course you're playing with an army that has first strike, strike last, super defenses.
If you have all
where
of
you
them,
can just I mean, if you're blessed that way.
Yeah. I don't know an army that has all of them.
All of that? No, not all of that. Not even Lumineth have all that.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. All right, so we're in the combat. We're done combat now. We're going to basically the end step. We're just cleaning up right now. Is there anything that we need to take into consideration?
You can do some really cheeky things with power through, depending on what you have, right?
Yep.
So again, I have to use Slay's examples because it's great.
So describe power through for the audience.
Yes. So it's end of the turn. You choose a model that charged, which is important. You can't just be lying around.
Yeah, you can't just been there. Yeah, you have to have charged.
If it has more wounds than what it's engaged with, it can just leave. And does mortal wounds on top of that when it leaves, right? So what you do is, again, Slay's example, with Archaon, who has the most wounds in the game, barring Giants.
Barring Giants, basically the most
25 wounds, right? I can charge in, kill stuff, kill most things, do my sub-faction ability, or my battle formation ability, which is Corruptive Objective. It's also in the turn, do some mortal wounds. Archaon's going to power through, do some more mortal wounds, and now I'm not on that circle, I'm on this circle over here, 14
How far
away.
do you move?
14 inches, sir. Very far.
It's your movement is what I'm trying to say. It's not a 2d6 roll, it's not a d6. You just move.
Flat. So like there are times where you can commit offensively, so like take the flanks or whatever it is. You can commit offensively with 1 unit and then just power through away and still in the flank or steal an objective, whatever it is. It gives you play afterwards, but it's knowing those interactions and their risk assessment as well, right?
Right, and it's a very, very nuanced thing. You need the CP to do it.
Yeah. Yes, which is important.
And oh man, you can lose track between countercharging,
Yeah.
all out defense, and then it's like, oh, I really need to do this all out attack, and all of a sudden you got 0 and you can't power through.
Yeah,
So it has to be part of your plan, and it has to be the front of your brain. It's those key pieces, those key large point pieces, Balthanos.
Yeah, who can pseudo do that already,
He grasshoppers over to a
and
unit,
then he can power through after.
and then he can power through even fade even further.
Yeah.
Balthanos is almost an auto include.
Yeah.
We're gonna start tossing these words, and these are not positive comments, I might add. When you start getting into the words
Auto include is not good for the
is
game.
not good. It's not good for not for the game. It's not good for that army either.
No. Things shouldn't be built upon that. Like I was saying with
Yeah.
Usharan, I don't foresee. I'm sure there's a list somewhere, and someone on the internet can tell me I'm wrong.
I have no idea what the list is because I'm telling you right now, Usharan
You
is.
have to that's how it starts, right? So you're not playing a 2,000 point game. You're playing 15, 30, whatever it is, right?
It's Usharan and it's surrounded by stuff that you think is
He
good.
has to be there,
Yeah,
right?
he's so good.
But then like when the list has to build itself, it doesn't feel good for the creativity part of it, right? So auto includes, it's not good for the army, for game design, anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Let me use the cool toys that I want to use.
Right.
Some armies can do whatever they want, right? Not everyone can. So like Fleshier Courts, you need to. Sylvaneth, I don't think again will exist where you don't have Balthanos.
No.
Like if you don't, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish without him being there.
You just feel dumb for not taking the choice.
Yeah.
Because he's just those two pieces to those respective armies just offer so much.
Yeah.
And then you try. It's like, well, let's see if I could be a special snowflake, and then you melt, and it's like, okay, I want to be back to
The way best way it was described to me was like those models are the army traits for the army.
Yeah, that's right.
For the most part,
The allegiance abilities
they
is
don't-
Balthanos.
Yeah, you don't like all the other ones. You don't care about it. Like we said, like Wildwoods can be a liability, right? Also, if you just like put Wildwoods in a corner in a castle, awesome. Now you're trapped there. You can't teleport out, and I have no incentive to go kill your trees.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is, right? So yeah, same with Fleshier Courts, right? Whatever Usharan does, which is everything. It literally does everything.
He really does.
But like there's other armies, like that's fine. That's better than having an unplayable army,
Yeah.
which does exist. There's a few. There's one.
Unplayable.
It's harsh. Unplayable is very harsh.
Unplayables are very, very harsh sentiment.
Competitively unplayable then.
I would, probably say that.
Yeah. Again, if you're just gonna have beer and pretzels with your friends in the garage, doesn't matter. Use all the stuff you want. Use the air quotes crappy units. You're not there for the same
Yeah,
thing.
and if you're any of these armies that we were saying were bad, and you're like going, well, I'm having a great time. You continue having that great time.
don't
Like
do
no
that.
one's telling you not to have a great time.
I'm not gonna yuck your yum.
I am
so.
100% talking about it from a competitive perspective. So we've approached the end of the phases now. The first round is over.
Yes.
There's a lot there to digest, review at your own pleasure. When I'm talking broad overview, all right, how do you feel slaves? Where do you feel them at right now?
They're in a good spot. The army finally does what it wants to do, which is reach out and punch stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Because of its aggressive points costs, it will struggle on missions that have more objectives. 6 can be rough, but it's a list building thing, right?
Yeah.
Building to the pack is a thing, right? Pickup games is totally different. But if we assume to build to the pack, you would hopefully build things that can play these missions well.
Yeah.
Some are random, like Star Strike. You can never account for where it's going to be for the most part.
Yeah.
Right? Your things that are really fast and good are expensive, right? Your things that are fast and not good are also kind of expensive.
Yeah.
But I think they're in a really good spot, especially out the gate. We're 3 or 4 weeks into it, where there's no solution to the meta, right?
No.
People are just using what looks good, trying new cool things out.
Yeah.
We've seen things with high wound density like Soulblight do really well.
Yep.
Right?
Soulblight, great army.
Ogres do really
Great
well
army.
and stuff. I think as the meta gets, it's not solved. I don't like the idea of solved because
No.
that puts the game in a stagnant place, and I don't like that.
But it's also not accurate. It's not solved.
But I'm saying, like, in general, right?
Yeah.
Like, calling a meta solved once we figure out how the pieces fall, it just doesn't add fun to the game.
Yes.
That way.
But it's also not the game at the moment.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is the thing. So you get to try the cool things out. So yeah, slinging Arcana across the table feels awesome after 3 years of being like, wow, that's a nice shelf you're protecting in my bedroom, right?
Right.
So just trying cool stuff out, or knights actually doing things now.
Yeah.
I don't like tiering stuff, but definitely like A tier for sure. But you also need to be not a better player, but that risk assessment is a big thing, right? Because you have so few units that you can't afford to just commit and full send things, because you'll get bogged down or you'll lose stuff as well. So all in all, they're in a good spot for sure.
What about Suns?
Not as good. Again, there's a lot of missions in this pack that have more than 3 objectives. Giants love 3 objectives. It's the best.
It's their jam.
6 is not fun.
Boo!
8,
Boo! 6 objectives.
8 is crazy. Random might not be terrible. They're not as good. I think from the stats we've seen, they're in like the good area of 45 to 55% or whatever it is, and that feels right. But it's knowing, again, they're not a combat army. They're there to just tank stuff, hold on to circles. They can punch stuff, but don't play them hyper aggressive. You will lose them. They degrade a lot faster now.
Yeah.
So, pro tip, clearly. Don't listen to me. So, they feel good. For armies I play, there's something that feels really bad, which is nice, right? To have that feeling, but that doesn't apply to everybody.
What word doesn't it apply, Josh?
Well, Lionel, to most things that you happen to play, it does not apply.
Just so happens.
The armies that you like.
So happens. Okay, so I'll say this: Magakin are an absolute pleasure. They are not the best army in the game, not by leagues, but they are fun to play.
Yeah.
I've sat down and built 6 or 7 lists, and they all feel good.
They feel different too sometimes, right? In the
I
same army.
got a list with Rodigus and 2 big boys and a bunch of plague bears.
Sure.
I got a bunch of plague bears. I got a bunch of beasts. That list is still insanely. If we ever do battle reports, I want to show you what beasts can do. The fact that they can just charge in every turn, all of them. Just
not battle round, turn.
Yeah.
Your turn,
my turn, your turn.
Doesn't matter.
It's so cool. Now the condition is they can't be in combat when they do that.
And it has to be the nearest thing, but
yeah,
that's fine.
Whatever. It's all lovely. Yeah. It's all lovely. Anyway, the army's a pleasure to build because there's so much list diversity. Like I have my collection. I have a really large collection of Magakin, and I have also a fair chunk of unpainted. Now I'm motivated to want to paint it. That's really cool. Awesome. Just love that army. You guys nailed it beautifully. Cruel Boys, I don't have an opinion yet. I am having fun building lists, and I love gut rippers. I've had these conversations where people are talking about Masakillas, and they go on and on about it, and I'm like, why? Why do you like Masak? Oh, because they do this. It's like, well, gut rippers do that. And instead of 7 models, there's 10 of them. Oh, but they cost more. Yeah, they do cost more, but I get
more.
And I can reinforce them.
It's definitely a meta choice, and the reinforcing is huge too.
It is huge. They're giant chassis where I can now buff those chassis.
Yeah.
And gut rippers, 20 of them.
Yeah.
If I fail a die roll to juice them up, 20 of them are still
41 attacks.
41 attacks on 6s causing mortals, and just a whole bunch of stitching.
Yeah.
I fail a roll, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm not happy.
No.
I'd rather pass the roll to get my dirty trick off.
Well, even then, you're still 40 wounds with -1 to hit still or whatever?
I have a conditional -1 to hit,
Okay.
I have to roll. It doesn't work on heroes,
Yeah.
but it works on everything else.
Some monsters finally, that's good.
Did it also not include
It never
monsters?
used to work on monsters. But point being,
Yeah.
even then, like the investment isn't super high.
Yeah.
That if they do whiff, and if they somehow die, which is still a lot to get rid of with the -1 hit and the 40 wounds, it wasn't a huge chunk of your army that you had to invest.
Well, they're for a significant amount of points. But what the difference is, though, no recursion.
Yes.
The army does not recur. Unlike my Gits, unlike my Magakin, unlike Soul Blight, Flesh Eater Courts, every other death faction army.
Yeah.
Unlike Seraphon, and it's like
Yeah.
I have these units. They're good, but they do not recur. So when they're dead, they stay dead, and that is. I am not certain what the universe is like. I have to play them. Is basically what it boils right down to it. But it feels good to list build.
Yeah, which is nice. Yeah, Crowboys are beautiful models.
I love them. I love this.
They're
Well, you either
so-
love or you hate it, right? So-
Yeah, they're so characterful and stuff too, and like they had a bad launch, but they got better towards the end.
A bad launch.
Okay, abysmal.
Abysmal. Yeah, absolutely abysmal.
They got better. I think there's, if I had asked people, most people would say they like Crowboys. I think they're going to pour more into the faction.
Yeah, I hope so.
Which would be nice. They look really fun, and for not even just a destruction army, for an orc army, they play very different.
Yes.
Right? They don't need to go out and stab you, whatever. They can just sit there. They don't need a castle, but they can just do stuff. They can
They have
just
shooting.
play
They
the
have good
game.
shooting,
They
too.
do have good shooting.
Yeah.
They have good everything. They have good monsters. The Sludgebreaker is amazing.
Sludgebreaker's fantastic. Yeah.
Right? Their wizard is not horrible.
Their wizard is not horrible.
It's
In the
very
form
good.
of a character,
Yeah.
he's a 2-cast wizard, 300 and change, and he can punish other wizards by once per game. He can go, if I unbind you, I just do mortal wounds to you, and that's really, really quite cool. But then there's the foot heroes. The foot wizards are also
So
really,
good,
really good.
yeah.
And I like them both. I put the big bird wizard in.
Yeah.
I have him in a list there. Then I dropped him, replaced him with 2, and increased my drops. But I'm playing and designing a list where I don't care. Like, okay, I don't have a choice. Cool, we'll choose. What do you want to do? Do you want to go first or second? Okay.
At a certain point, having too many drops doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Don't do auxiliaries. Don't do that.
That is interesting. That is interesting. Because you're right. Everyone's saying the same thing. If everyone's saying the same thing, they must have arrived at that conclusion as well at the office, right? So then why have it?
Like no matter how many units you take. So with how deployment works, we talked about this last week or whatever. You're not forced to deploy an entire regiment. You can deploy 1 unit from a regiment.
Yes.
And then you have to deploy that regiment individually now.
Yes.
But if your goal is information, awesome. How good is this unit that you take as an auxiliary with no attached hero? This unit better be really good to give your opponent, if we're playing, again, the same wavelength, to give me 5 command points.
Every
during the
round.
Well, no, so it's 1 extra one. So 5 command points during the course of the game. 5 bonus CP.
Sorry, 1 extra CP per round, though.
Per round, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
it's 1 extra CP per round. You get 5, I get 4.
Yeah.
And then if you're below, you get 6.
6. Yeah. So how good is this unit you're taking that you're okay to give me that resource?
That's crazy.
I don't know. There's be no point to have a hero out. There'd be no point to have a 6th hero, sorry, to give me that bonus. So what unit is there? Nothing. So why does auxiliary exist? I don't know.
I was going to do a toad list
Yeah.
that had 11 toads in it.
Yeah.
And I had them all in auxiliaries, and I said, damn it, I'm going to try it out.
Yeah.
But then when I found out that I can deploy those toads as individual units anyway, I was like, oh, well, then I'm just going to take more regiments.
All I want is information. Is all you cared about.
Yeah, all I cared about was the info.
Yeah. And now you might outdrop them, and they don't get whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. So the
choice.
choice.
I don't. There's a nuance I'm not appreciating, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it has to do with the books. Maybe the books will shed a little light on why auxiliaries is an option. But I don't know anybody who's taken it. I put some thought into it, and I just can't see a reason why I would want to do that.
When the game was first, like when they announced the game was coming out, spoilers, that kind of stuff, people discussed if there will be things that are like mandatory auxiliary units. And my hope was, please no. That's, again, terrible for list design. Yeah. If I'm forced to take this thing as an auxiliary and give you a bonus, I'm never going to take it, right? So I don't know what purpose auxiliaries are supposed. Again, maybe it's just way too big brain for us.
Yeah, it's something like these guys are smart.
Yeah,
I really truly believe the designers are smart. I don't think they're idiots. Mistakes happen, but that's because they're human. There's something I'm just not appreciating. It'll be interesting to discover that later, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But synopsis of the game. So right now you're feeling generally more positive than negative, for sure.
100%. Game is in a good place. It's nice how they've laid everything out.
Yeah.
Right? With everything being an ability, you know when things happen,
Yep.
that kind of thing. The game is a lot easier to follow, I find.
Cleaner.
Yes, it's nice. So yes, definitely positive, for sure. So we've discussed the things we don't enjoy, which I'm sure they'll fix. Again, we've seen fixes in the woodwork, so we'll hope. Right? So.
Yeah, overall, I'm very positive about the game.
Yeah.
I do not like when a game is dictating to me how to play it.
Yes.
And I do have an issue with manifestations. I've already expressed that clearly enough. I do not like that the game is telling me to have to take a wizard because of those said manifestations,
Same thing, yeah.
which could be fixed. But if they just pointed them out,
Yeah.
completely done.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate that there's some auto includes, but we're in the index stage of the game.
Yeah. The game's out for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
or
not,
whatever.
chillax.
Yeah.
Chillax. I don't like manifestations. That's all right. Get over it, Lionel, because we're in the index stage.
Put
of
your
the
big boy pants on.
Yeah, exactly, right? This is the skies are falling. I'm still super enjoying the game.
Oh yeah, it's loads of fun.
Yeah.
I've played again 8-9 games. Never had an actual bad game. So they're all
Yeah,
enjoyable, engaging, and fun. And that counterplay just lends to that, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's me doing the counterplay in your turn, you doing mine. Yeah, there's feels bads for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a social game at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So being able to interact even on a small level in your opponent's turn, vice versa,
Yep.
it's good.
So you're in our league.
I am.
You've already played your first round game.
I have.
And how'd it go?
I narrowly lost.
Narrowly.
Narrow. I was like.
Did you get a minor loss?
No.
That's not narrow then,
no,
is it?
No. It was 6 points or whatever. It's fine.
That's a major loss. buddy.
Yeah, well, semantics. Very good. Played Kyle, playing Sylvaneth,
Yeah.
right? I was playing Archaon plus stuff.
Yep.
The list was a lot of fun. Again, throwing him around just feels great.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful model.
The thing is, with Sylvaneth, the things that are very good are also very good against him. Because they're anti-hero, anti-monster, so suddenly that 3-up save that we established is not the best. Now it's a 5-up save before any other rend comes in.
Yep.
He might have he has a ward save, but he lost the bounce back, so you get to be protective of him for nearly 1,000 points. You also lose a lot because he's so expensive, right? But all in all, it was a very fun experience for sure. It's nice. I'm gonna play too many like casual games where I just go to shop and do it. So having a league is nice to do it, right? So like most of my games I play are tournaments or whatever. So
Okay.
yeah.
So in the league, when you drop your first game, in the first 3 rounds of the league, you're able to adjust.
Yes.
What are you thinking of adjusting?
I've played Archaon a lot. It's a lot of fun. I want to try new things out. It needs more bodies. It needs actual mobility. So something along those lines will be what I explore.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
I too also dropped my first game against the amazing Jonathan Franco.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
He is amazing, actually.
It's true.
He's
The best Franco, I
What
hear.
I heard, word on the street is he's best Franco, at least for until next year, I think.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
basically
that's when
when
nominations are next
the-
year.
yeah, well, that's when the other circuit begins.
Exactly.
That's where it's decided. We do a circuit once a year where we take a bunch of tournaments and link them up, and after 5 events, the top 16 get invited. And both Franco brothers made it into the top 16, but unfortunately, one of them, of course, ranked higher, became default best Franco. So, how could I possibly win against best
No,
Franco?
it's impossible.
It is impossible. So, what I'm going to be doing, the adjustment I'm going to make is probably my Plague Bearer spam, but I hesitate a little bit. I am the shop owner, and I'm running this league, and this list feels very, very. What's the word? I guess it feels oppressive.
It's fair.
Yeah.
But you lost though. It can't be that impressive.
I wasn't playing that list.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's sorry. Sorry. Was this the no wizard list where you're
This
like,
was this was I hadn't played a game, and I'm like, I wonder what this game feels like without a wizard. I'll play with no wizard. It can't be that bad.
Yeah, rewind half an hour, you'll see how we feel about no wizards.
Terrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's terrible. It's terrible. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not, or flip.
You can switch factions.
Yeah, exactly. In the league, sorry, we're allowed to switch factions, so you can change your army entirely.
Yeah.
I might actually rock out Cruel Boys, because I've already played now quite a few test games with my Mag Kid list. And we'll do so on the side, but for the league, I think I think I want to play something a little bit more fun for everyone.
Yes, that's right.
Fun for everyone.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah, if you can't DPS check those plague bearers or whatever, you just are stuck.
Yeah, I'm not saying the list is unbeatable because it
No.
is not.
No.
But it is thick.
Yes.
Thick.
We established that wound density is definitely the.
All right, so do we
thing.
have anything to chat here? We like to welcome, oh my goodness, all sorts of people. I am not going to name you all. Let's see if I can see any quick questions. IJ are the best at losing. That cut deep. That cut deep. That cut deep.
was that?
That was my balls.
yeah.
Our fellow friend Michael Simeon.
Yeah.
IJ are in an incredibly tough spot in the game. I don't think there is, or at least an army I can think of, that has been shoved in a locker
Yeah.
down the chute more than Iron Jaws. And I don't understand why. Like,
No, like Strike and Fade getting what it got for Sylvaneth, where I can smack you before you leave.
that was a feel bad moment that got taken away.
No, yeah, that's fine. And like you can still Strike and Fade, you get hit now,
Yeah.
right? But losing Mighty Destroyers from what it was and smashing and bashing,
Smashing and bashing hurt.
because like they played they're a combat army. That's it. That's all they do is go fight stuff, move fast, engage, and then just kill them. If you don't kill them, they kill you. That was the game.
Yeah.
Now it's take a jog and see where I get to.
It is, they play the game terribly at every level. Yeah, I am staring at the camera. Like, terribly at every level. I'm looking at both cameras now.
Just cross-eyed.
Yeah, it is.
Nope.
They don't play the hero phase well. They do play cool movement shenanigans once they close in, but before that, they crawl.
Yes.
They fight. Unless, of course, someone charges them, which they will because they're slow as molasses. And then they don't get to fight. Why? Because they're all dead.
Yeah.
Because that 3+ save is glass.
Because they have no word save.
And once that purple sun is in there, it doesn't even matter if we go all defense. They just get annihilated.
Yeah. No, it's.
Iron Jaws used to be about two things. It used to be about movement and fighting. And that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And now we are about...
Yeah. Like they gave a lot of so brutes can get upwards of 7 attacks, whatever it is. Between
Who cares?
A bunch, but then to get
When
there,
are you dictating that?
Never.
When are you dictating that?
That's
Hey,
exactly-
Josh, I can get this unit to 7 attacks apiece with anti-infantry. Oh, you're not charging with your anti-infantry? Okay, cool. Oh, you're hitting me with your big block of Vanguard?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, you cast Purple Sun the round? Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that big block infantry is dead with 7 attacks.
Guess
I didn't
I'm dead.
actually get to lift anything.
And that's the thing. Like
That's
they're,
sweet.
Their ways of buffing themselves. Just they lost. Like so the War Chanter. It was an auto include, but not a bad auto include before. It let the combat army do
He
the
was a
damage.
support
it
guy.
needed
That's
to.
why it didn't feel so bad. He wasn't
Now
deleting
it's-
units.
Yeah.
That's why he was an auto include that didn't feel bad.
Now you're just like, he might do stuff sometimes, and not slotting into a regiment makes it rough. Because
Sorry, pause right there.
Yes.
What he means is there are armies that are able to put small heroes nested under larger heroes, right? Certain armies have that ability. Maybe yours doesn't, but Iron Jaws don't have any of it. Like they just don't have that at all.
Yeah,
which means you have to take that War Chanter and put them in a separate regiment.
which for a combat army, you want to try and dictate who's going to have priority turn 1.
Correct.
Now going from probably 2 or 3 drops, which is common, makes it a dice roll.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're playing combat and I'm playing combat, I probably want to have 2 drops. So now your slow army can enjoy moving nowhere.
So if I go 2 drops, what do I give up? All that utility that we're talking about.
That's it.
I put all those units in my general's list, so I just offer you points,
Yeah.
and I crawl. I have 0 screens.
Yep.
The screens come in Ard Boys, and that's what my list is now turned into.
You just Ard Boys.
I took 3 units of 20 Ard Boys, 60 Ard Boys, or I took 2 units of 20 and a unit of 10 brutes to follow up, and that's the list. And I'm not saying it doesn't look cool.
Everything looks cool.
The model range is beautiful.
Oh, I
I love
everything.
if you love that aesthetic, and I do.
Yeah.
I love that aesthetic, and I love the big pigs that are actually not that bad now. But as an army, you struggle to score.
Yeah.
You struggle to play any aspect of the game,
Yep.
and that is the cardinal sin. They're not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not fun to use. Like, why would I? Yeah.
And they're difficult to build. Like lists for?
Oh yeah. Well,
They're
no weird.
extremely awkward.
You're saying the cheapest hero they have is what, 130?
The cheapest
140?
unit they have is 130. And I have lists at 2-drop where I don't take a war channel because the game's telling me, take a wizard.
Yeah.
All right, if I stick a wizard and I take a mega boss,
Yeah.
and then I'm 2-drops,
Do anything?
can't put a war chanter in the list.
No.
Okay, cool. Put the war chanter in and a mega bot. Well, then I don't have a wizard.
Yeah. And you can't.
Okay, so what if I take a wizard
Yeah.
and a war chanter? Then I have no tricks at all
Nothing.
in melee.
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
what do I do?
My combat army doesn't do combat. It just.
It's just
Yeah.
it's whoever worked on that list, see yourself out. Get out of here. Get out. Get out. Like leave. Leave.
Yeah.
Just
Interesting.
don't touch another book again. Get out. Yeah, it's just depressing. I am sure there's a genius out there in the world that have figured
Yeah.
out a list, and it's probably going to involve an enormous amount of infantry, and that's be about it. You'll just crawl across the board and cap objectives.
Yeah.
Good luck getting flank with anything because you have nothing
you
to
need,
do so.
You need pigs of some sort, but like,
Well, I took 2 Mograt just to try. All I have to do is dedicate 440 points to do flank.
quarter
No
of
big
your
deal.
army, no big deal at all.
Yeah, and far flung, just way out of the game.
I'll just throw 90-point raptor birds in front of you. And
Oh,
like,
cool.
Isn't that fun?
That is so much fun. And then dropping a purple sun, and then dropping the grave tide. And
right, easy.
I can't move. Oh, I can't make it to there. Oh,
No.
that's cool too.
Where do you want to go?
It is tough. It is tough. So yeah, they are. If there was a have-not in the game,
Yeah.
have-not is definitely IJ.
Yeah.
Best faction in the game, go.
Slaves, obviously.
So Chaos.
Chaos, yeah, of course.
Chaos is the best faction in the game.
Personal-
Real answer.
So personal best faction.
No, you had a chance.
No.
Real answer,
No,
Death. Death is the best
yeah,
faction in the game.
100%, Yes, it's Nighthaunt do whatever they want. Soulblight do whatever they want. OBR do whatever they want. Not Feck, but that's fine. 3 out of 4 isn't bad.
Feck is great.
Ushrain is great.
Doesn't matter. Feck is great.
But so, yes, Death. For Grand Alliance, Death for sure.
100%.
Yeah. No.
Second best?
Order. Of course.
Yeah, most likely Order.
Order,
Yeah, it's
no,
like
yes, yeah.
the Golden Boys are always going to have the support of the casters. And this isn't a conscious decision, by the way, guys.
No.
These guys aren't huddling around a table burning candles and
Yeah.
burning pictures of you and trying to, we're going to shaft that guy across the world.
Feels personal, but-
It's just that they're big fans, and they're big fans of the armies that they love, and they love the armies that they love, right?
Yes.
And good guy armies are loved. They're a beloved faction.
doesn't
Everyone wants
want
the good guys to win.
Exactly.
Right? Even if you're playing the bad guys, you want the good guys to win.
Good subjective.
Maybe,
I guess,
maybe.
but maybe.
But it would be nice if they tempered it a little bit
Yeah.
and didn't make the destruction faction so brutally brutal.
Yeah. Well, it's just one-dimensional, right? For most destruction things. So,
Like we got ogres. We got Maw tribes, which are probably the most well-rounded, hard-hitting,
Yes.
could complete objectives. They have screens.
they perform in every phase.
They perform in every phase. You could have an army with 3 wizards, not feel like you're detracting anything from your army.
Oh man.
Yeah, their wizards are great. Like I built my my Mott tribes list, and I'm like, this army just feels fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
Plus, in the cast sub
Yeah.
faction, who knew?
yeah, it's just great, right? And then giants are okay.
Yeah.
Not
terrible. Okay.
Yeah, not terrible. Cruel Boys look really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But again, these aren't superstars. Like the peak is ogres, and then it starts.
It definitely tapers off for sure.
Yeah.
And like ogres are a good destruction army. They're a very middle of the pack order army. And they not that they can't contend with death, but what Soulblight can do in terms of wound density and bringing things back and the recursion, ogres can't do that.
No, they can't.
And that's not them fighting. I'm talking about. It's just what they're used, like functionality in a vacuum, right? You can get more with Soulblight and get further than you can with Ogres.
Yeah. Oh, I should also mention that Gloomspite Gits are actually pretty darn good too.
That's an army. Trolls are fine.
Trolls are fantastic. Yeah. The great. Oh, I love Gloomspite Gits.
Yes.
They're one of my absolute favorite. Have a giant army painted for that as well. Don't have my trolls painted, so it's a motivation maybe to get them
Squigs are
painted.
fun too. They got
They got nerfed
down,
hard.
but they still do stuff.
Yeah, they still do. Yeah, you can line them up and still. Actually, herds could still hit
Yeah.
an enormously well because they can get crit on mortals on those with heroes.
Yeah, they can get extra attacks or whatever too and stuff.
Yeah. They could still do some work. Yeah, absolutely. They're more like a combined.
Yeah.
Instead of like an all squig list, you're really taking grots and squigs.
Yeah, which is fine though. Like you want
it's cool.
that nice mix of stuff. Right?
Yeah, visually it looks wicked.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you gotta love goblins, I guess. But
Yeah,
I love
if
goblins.
If you don't, then you're weird. But.
You are weird if you don't love goblins.
So.
All right, we have been talking a really long period of time.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure talking with you and just talking about Warhammer in general. I want to thank you guys for coming out. We're going to sign off right now. Anything? Oh, man, there's like a ton of you. Thank you so much for all the lovely chat, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Have a phenomenal night wherever you are, or morning, or afternoon. Other than that, see ya.